Hi everyone, it's tax time again. Whether you're hitting the road for rideshare or hustling in the kitchen and dining room, navigating taxes can be overwhelming. But don't worry, I'm Bonnie Yam, your co-host to podcast Growth and Inspire. We will help you break down the tax world for you so you can claim your deductions you deserve to maximize your tax refund. I would like to welcome our speaker, Atidio Calderon. He is an Atax store manager in Bellmore, New York. He is very experienced in this field. Hello, Atidio.
Good
Can you?
morning. How are you?
Good, thank you so much. Can you share a little about your background in this field?
Okay, so I am by training, I am an accountant, and I have an MBA in business administrations. At the same time, I have a minor which are turned into a major, which is taxes. I'm a tax
Great,
accountant more than a CPA. I am
wonderful.
not a CPA.
Uh-huh.
Uh, But I have plenty of experience in this contracting business, self-employed, as well as regular employee. And I have quite a few tips to talk about today.
Wonderful. Yeah, today we're going to go over like three different types of independent contractors: drivers, construction workers, and restaurant workers. And they are all independent contractors, so the taxes are a little different from those who are being employed by a regular company. So
That's correct.
let's start. Let's talk a little bit about self-employment tax. Atilio, can you just comment a little bit on that?
Okay, self-employment, it's a little complicated because the regular employee gets the taxes withheld by the employer. You know you're paying because the employer is doing the work. A self-employed, a contractor, which is self-employed also, has to make sure he's accounting for those withholdings. Instead of the employer, in this case, your client, taking and paying your income tax and social security, you do it on your own or your accountant. Uh, the income tax based on your gross revenues, Social Security, Medicare based on your net revenues, which you have to pay on a quarterly basis. You have to report using 1040 ES for your income tax. You can use for your same Medicare and Social Security. You report on the same form, and you make those contributions quarterly. Uh, for the contractor, it's basically the same thing, unless it's treated differently, which is not going to touch. We're going to go through the general contracting. Uh, it's mostly done by the 1040 ES on a quarterly basis. And at the end of the year, you add it all up, and those are your tax, income tax, Social Security, Medicare contributions for your income, what you're going to report at the end of the year.
Right.
Uh,
So, sorry. So you're basically the owner and the employee. So you would
right.
be responsible for paying the payroll taxes. And total is what, 15 point something, right? It's quite a lot.
Well, the self-employment tax is 15.3%,
Hmm.
and 12.4 is the Social Security, and 2.9 is the Medicare.
Hmm.
For people who makes, a single person who makes more than 200,000 is gotta pay an additional 0.9%. If it's a married filing joint, it's gotta pay the 0.9% if it's over 250,000 for the year. Yeah, and it's all done through your bookkeeping, calculated through your bookkeeping on your income, gross revenue, net revenue every quarter for the entire year. And it's
Yep.
reported on your Form 1040.
Yep. Okay. Wait, no, no, no. 1099, not 1040. Oh, yes, you're right. You're right. 1040. You
Yes.
can you have a 1099 from the employer, NEC from the employer, and then you are responsible because they don't deduct any of the Social Security, Medicare tax. So you're responsible every quarter to submit what's due to Social Security and Medicare. And if you don't do that, then you're in trouble, right? So if you're not
Yeah,
doing it, you
correct.
better find a bookkeeper to help you do the
Well,
filing, quarterly filing.
there is two difference of 1099s. It's the regular 1099 miscellaneous, and there is the 1099 NEC,
Mm,
which is a non-employee compensation.
mm,
You get compensated by your business, your contractor.
mm,
The other is just a 1099 miscellaneous, a regular contractor.
mm,
And that the self-employed don't get a 1099, they just calculate the revenues. And
mm,
from the revenues, all the taxes that need to be paid.
mm, mm,
Yes. And those forms 1099 are used by the accountant to report your income
right.
and deduct all expenses incurred throughout the year to
Mm,
conduct the business.
mm, mm,
Everything, every expense
mm,
that you have throughout the year to be able to conduct your business and have revenue is
mm.
deductible, is necessary expense.
Yes.
And that's the criteria, must be necessary to conduct the business.
Mm, makes sense, makes sense. Maybe let's comment a little bit about tax tips. I think a lot of them, like if you talk about drivers or restaurant workers, they also get tips. Do we need
Right. The
what?
talk of the day about tips, it's because of Mr. Trump has signed a executive order to eliminate income tax from tips. We'll see what happens. It's not yet in place. It's just the order. So meantime, we gotta keep talking about income taxes for tips.
So we still need to
And tips
report.
are reported to the employer every month if it's in excess of $20. If on a daily basis you get $100 cash tips, it could be any form. It could be in a form of cash. It could be gift cards. It could be an actual gift.
Mm,
Everything is a tip. It's considered a tip, and it needs to be reported daily, weekly, monthly, whichever your employer desires to do it.
however, yeah, they
And it's
record.
all reported through a form uh, that is mailed to the IRS, where you report all your income. It's a form 4070, which is uh, income tax for tips.
Okay,
And if you get, as I was saying, if you get $100 a day, then it
that'd be
is
nice.
more than $20. So you
That's
need
more
to
than 20.
report it
Need to report.
to your employer. And that tip is going to be reported on your W-2
Mm, mm,
as tip income. There is a box on your W-2
mm.
that says tip income.
Income.
The
I see.
difference between the tip income and the regular wages is that the tip income does not withhold taxes unless your employer agrees to do it for you.
Mm,
Otherwise, you need to pay Social Security and Medicare
same thing.
plus the income tax
Same
on
thing.
that
Yeah.
income. It is reported together
Hmm.
on line 1 of Form 1040, but it's the income tax and the Social Security Medicare is computed separate.
Separately. Right. Okay. Yeah.
And that is for anyone in any type of work that receives income. Restaurants, truck drivers, uh, say the
Handyman.
dry cleaner, the nails,
Yes. Health
anybody
salon.
who
Yes.
receives tip
Hairdresser.
income,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
it's
All the beauty
gotta
care. Yeah.
report it if it's more than $20. And
Okay.
if it
Interesting.
doesn't go on a W-2, it's our job, our duty to
To
report it
report
to
it.
the
I
IRS.
get it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for this explanation. Let's talk a little bit about deductions. So if I'm a contractor, what kind of expenses can I deduct?
Well, you got to take into account in which field you are. In the
Hmm.
case, as we mentioned early, the drivers.
Okay, let's start with driver.
Driver has an array of deductions, fuel,
Fuel,
uh, repairs, tires,
repairs,
registrations,
registration.
insurance.
Hmm.
They have to pay two different taxes that only drivers, trucking companies pay, which is the highway use tax,
Oh, yes.
which is a local tax paid for the use of state highways
Mm-hmm.
within the state, and it's based on the weight of the vehicle and the number of miles driven throughout the month or the quarter. There is a table that we have to use to calculate the tax. The
Mm-hmm.
maximum tax that a driver or owner operator pays through the year is only $550. It's not a lot, but it's a tax that we need
Yeah,
to
it's not a lot,
report.
but
We
it's a
must
tax.
report it.
You must
The
report.
other is for the drivers who travel across the state borders and internationally.
Oh my
For
God.
example, I'm driving a tractor trailer and I move freight from New York to Canada. That's an international.
International,
And
right?
that tax is called the IFTA, International Fuel Tax Agreement, which is an international tax agreement that
EIFT.
is paid for the number of miles and fuel consumed for each state that you
Oh
travel
my.
to. It is complicated because you
Very.
segregate it that way. The key here is that we need to keep logs, and it is mandatory for IFTA drivers to keep a log by DOT mandates that you have to have that log. The day and the number of miles that you drove through,
What
say,
a
New
state,
Jersey,
say
for
one state
example,
too, right?
and the
Because you
fuel
owe
that you
different taxes.
consume in that state.
Oh my
So
God.
all that is added together, and there is a table and a rate that is used to calculate that tax. Again,
Wow,
it's not a
wow.
big tax, but it must be reported. Otherwise, your registration, your license
Might
gets
get
canceled.
sustained.
You
Yeah,
cannot operate.
suspended. Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's a very delicate tax. Then in addition to that, we were talking about the repairs, the registration,
right,
regular registration of the vehicles,
right.
uh,
Insurance. I
car
have to pay insurance.
wash,
Yes.
uh,
Yes, garage
everything that is needed
to run the business.
for the truck to help you conduct your business is deducted.
Well,
And
I think we need
the,
somebody to help, right? It's kind of complicated.
it is very complicated. You need help, and
You
that's
do need
why
help.
we are
Yeah,
here
yeah,
to
yeah,
provide that support
yeah.
because it is complicated
Mhm.
and it is timely. If you
Time
don't
consuming too.
comply on a timely basis, then you get hit with interest and penalties. So it must be reported timely.
Yeah.
As we were saying, the people who is self-employed,
Mm,
every expense that is conducted, that is used to conduct the business, it is deductible.
mm,
If I make a visit at home, preparing an income tax, for example,
mhm,
every mile that I drive to go from the office
mhm.
to the taxpayer's house or place that we're going to
You
meet,
can
it
deduct.
must be accounted, and there is a deduction
Right, right.
by the mileage
Mm,
that we can deduct on the
mm,
income tax. And it's
mm,
all put together and calculated on a yearly basis.
mm, mm,
Um, the fuel, if I need to pay tolls,
mm.
those are deductible. We
Parking.
must make sure that we keep
Keep
records.
track of
Easy
it. What
Pass is
about
a Easy Pass is a good tool because they give you the report for the year of
uh-huh.
everywhere you went,
Everywhere you
and
went? Yeah.
you just gotta make sure you have the mileage for each day, each
What
trip.
about depreciation in my car? I can
If
deduct that too,
if
right?
you use the car, it's your car, then yes, you can depreciate it. You had to
Mhm.
on Form 45 52. I forgot the name of the number of the form.
That's okay.
That is the
Depreciation form.
depreciation
Yes.
expense.
Yes.
Uh, you had to, when you report there, when you put it in place to work, you put it to work on January 1st, 2025.
Mm,
For example, you also have to say the mileage that you started the year with,
mhm,
the mileage that you ended,
mm,
total mileage that you ended the year,
mhm,
the total mileage that you recorded in your log that are for business,
mm.
and then the rest is commuting and other mile,
Commuting.
which is not
Mhm.
deductible. The business mile is what you're gonna use to deduct. And then the cost of the vehicle. If it was a brand new car, you pay $50,000. Then those $50,000, if it's 100% business, it's 100% deductible. But if it's 25% based on the mileage, you
Right, right,
calculate what's
right,
the
right, right.
percentage, 10, 20, 30%, only 30% of the cost is deductible. The rest is personal use. It's not deductible.
So
And it
basic.
all goes on Form 4562 into Form Term 40, the Schedule C in
Mm,
this case.
mhm,
It's all reported on the Schedule C. If it's rental income,
mhm.
it also goes on a Schedule E, the same line, which is auto and truck expenses and depreciation. It's very important to keep logs. There are special
Yes.
logs in the
Mm,
stores, Staples, Walmart, you can
mm.
buy it, auto log, where you keep a record of every mile and every place that you went to. Because if you get audited, the IRS is going to look
To
for the
be
logs.
able.
The
Yes,
mileage
yes.
that we reported, 10 miles, is it really 10 miles? They will look at the log.
Mm,
Yes, it is. That is your proof. You need to keep those records. Minimum 3 years. I recommend 5 years
mhm.
uh, because if there is an
Never know. Yes.
inspection, an audit, they want to go back, you have 2 more years. If you can keep more, it's good.
Right. Wonderful.
But you gotta see Eurospace, and they want to see original receipts, original logs. They don't want to see photocopies or
Oh
pictures.
my God, receipts
IRS
too.
wants to see original copies.
Wow.
If
A
you
lot of
can
work.
prove that those are, they might, but they rather have original. So it is important to
Take a
keep
picture then.
every single
Yeah,
receipt.
keep the receipt.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, what you actually mentioned is like two different type of expenses. One is like cash expense, daily expenses, maybe meals, maybe parking and all that. The other one is capital expenses, your equipment, your car, your vehicle, whatever you use to get your job done. And that's done through depreciation. So it could be a three to
Right.
5 years, 7 to 10, whatever. So it all, depends. So make sure
Yeah,
you
capital expenses are easy to prove because
you
it's a
might buy
car,
it.
it's a
Yes.
truck, and that's easy to prove. Cash or even credit purchase,
Mm,
you have to prove with the original receipt.
mm.
That's the big difference. Yeah,
Well, very interesting. I think
and
what it
then
is,
and then just gotta take into account that if you depreciate that vehicle
mm,
and then you sell it, there will be a profit from the sale,
aha,
and that
everything.
profit is taxable. So you got to be careful with
You got
that.
to be careful.
However, in some cases, we have no choice. We have to depreciate. If it's a capital asset, we must depreciate. There is no choice. If it's a personal asset that I only use for business,
Mm,
10, 20%, I don't have to.
mm,
I
mm.
can use the
That's right.
mileage and actual expense
Mm,
for deduction instead of the depreciation. So we
mm.
gotta be careful on which we go.
Whether
It
it's
depends on the actual
expense
use. If it's 100%, we
or
must be.
depreciation. Yes. Yeah. This is kind of like running a business. I'm a self-contracted uh employee, but basically I'm running my own business. I have to keep track of
You
everything
have
that
two
coming in.
jobs. You
It's
have
it's
two
complicated.
jobs. You're
Yes,
the contractor and the accountant at the same time.
I'm
So
owning everything. So whatever I need to spend to run the business, equipment and actual physical real expenses, I need to track that. And the income that comes in, I need to know when to do the estimated taxes to pay for Medicare, to pay for Social Security, all that. So it is not as simple as people think. It's actually pretty complicated.
it is important to keep receipts of income,
Exactly. Yeah,
invoices,
exactly.
because that's how you're going to prove that our income is really what it is.
Mm,
I have this customer, he paid me $10,000. Here's the invoice, it's paid, and there is the bank, there's a transaction in the bank
mm,
statement that
mm.
matches the 10,000 that you got paid by the client. So we must keep track of all
Yeah.
that income
You
and
know,
expenses.
that's like something I learned today. It's you really need to keep track,
Yes,
because IRS might come back and ask you to prove, and then you really need to be able to show where the spending comes along. So that's
exactly.
important.
It's
Yeah,
all, and the responsibility is from the taxpayer to
that's you.
prove. that the expenses and the income is real. The IRS doesn't
That's
want to
right.
prove, don't have
Yeah.
to prove.
Hmm.
We need to prove.
Hmm. And
Yeah.
then doing your bookkeeping properly is very important because that amounts to a lot less stress when you file your taxes. If everything is done properly, boy, I got all my numbers. Let's go.
It is important if you know how to conduct your own bookkeeping, is fine. You
Mm,
should know how to process the transactions, how to keep the logs, the journals,
that's right.
and every transaction that you need to report. If you get
Yes.
an audit at home because you
Mm,
conduct payroll, I seen it happen. They want to go to your home where you keep all the records and they look at the layers
mm.
and they want to make sure that what you report and matches what you have in the computer. It's a
Bookkeeping, yeah.
computer. They want to go through the computer and in layers that you have on papers.
Mm.
So you have to make sure records are accurate.
Done
So
properly,
the
done well.
your
Yes,
job becomes even more difficult at that point.
I agree.
So that's why it's better to have someone else doing it for you, but you have to provide the accountant everything they're asking for because we are protecting the client. That's our job. Report as good as we can to protect the clients, making sure that he doesn't get audited. And if he does, you have all the records and proof
Backups.
that it is what it
Agree.
is.
Agree.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I think I learned a lot from you. And these are valuable tips, not just to help file the tax, but how to run your business properly every single day. Which will mean that I will have a less stressful life when I file my taxes. So please remember, whether you're working behind the wheel, in front of the counter, taking control of your finances is all about staying informed and being proactive. So I want to have a huge thank you to our guest, Atilio. Thank you for
You're welcome.
sharing your insights today. And if you have any more questions or want to dive deeper into anything we discussed, please feel free to reach out or check the links in the show notes, which I will supply later. And don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share this episode with a friend or coworker who might need some tax tips too. So until next time, let's keep driving, keep hustling, and keep deducting. Take care, everyone. Thank you very much
Have a
for
nice day.
joining today.
Bye.